Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no! It's been an incredible year for me as the host of this show because I not only got to talk about your two favorite franchises, Descendants and Zombies, I had the honor of meeting each and every one of you, making this a year I will never ever forget and I will forever and always cherish. Guys, thank you so much for everybody who has subscribed recently on this YouTube channel. My heart goes out to every single person who ever proudly said in the crowd they were a fan of Descendants and Zombies, because this will be a year I will never ever forget. You know, I remember years ago talking about my favorite franchises at the time: Hannah Montana, High School Musical, Wizards of Waverly Place, and Phineas and Ferb. Some of my favorite Disney Channel movies like Tangled and High School Musical, but I could never ever remember having such a profound impact left on my heart and impression because of Descendants and Zombies. Descendants and Zombies gave me the honor of meeting so many wonderful people from so many cultural diversities and so many different walks of life who felt very differently about everybody else about Descendants and Zombies. When nobody else ever wanted to give it a chance, you guys did. And that's what was so resilient and so dedicated about each and every one of you, because so many critics were shutting down the hopes and dreams of everybody who ever believed in these franchises. But as time passed, so too did the support of Descendants and Zombies continue to grow. So because the support of Descendants and Zombies continued to grow, millions of people gravitated to a franchise that they could relate to. They saw themselves through the eyes of whatever characters they were a fan of. They felt inspired by a story of friendship between Dove Cameron and Sophia Carson, felt inspired about a true love story between Nal and Ben, and Red and Chloe's friendship being put on display and tested in so many emphatic ways in Descendants: The Rise of Red. One of the things that I gathered from the Rise of Red franchise was it didn't focus on two people falling in love, the majority of the original Descendants movies did from the original trilogy had done. Descendants: The Rise of Red focused on a passion and a friendship and dedication towards making that friendship last, because they knew they had to coexist to make it through the annals of time and face the consequences of time travel. Because one thing that is evident and forever will remain true is just how valuable and how precious of a commodity both time and a friendship actually is, because time never fails to run out, and friendships like Red and Chloe's only happen once in a lifetime. I'm sure many of us wish we could go back in time and were in possession of a pocket watch to fix some of the mistakes we left behind, or tell more people in our lifetime that we love them. I know I would love to do that, because I'm far from perfect, and I've openly been honest with each and every one of you with an open heart and an open mind by recording these videos and letting you guys know that I'm far from perfect. I know there are a lot of people out there that feel very passionate about Descendants and Zombies, and that's why I've tried to go above and beyond the requirements of a YouTube creator to upload the best videos that I possibly could with my feelings and my predictions and my theories, the best I could offer you about Descendants and Zombies. If I tell you I watched Descendants and Zombies over 100 times, I watched Descendants and Zombies over 100 times, and that moment when Zed and Addison met each other for the first time in the zombie safe zone was a moment I never ever forgot about, because it was the first chapter of many chapters we would go on to witness over the course of 7 years, a total of up to 4 movies featuring these stars who will go down in history for being some of the most legendary icons in Disney Channel and Disney Plus history because of what they offered to the Zombies franchise, because nobody really wanted to give this one much of a chance. But when a chance was offered to people like Meg Donnelly and Milo Manheim, they really ran with it. And they gave us so many unpredictable moments that we never saw coming, because we just thought this was going to be a horror sci-fi musical that nobody was ever going to make sense of. You know, a couple of songs thrown in here or there, but the songs were songs that we ultimately were able to identify with. And we got to know because of just how powerful of a message each song conveyed, from Someday, which set up the future for Zed and Addison, to This Is Going to Be My Year, which really set things in tone of what they wanted to accomplish when it came to their dreams and goals. Zed wanted to be the most popular football player of all time. Addison wanted to be the captain of the cheerleading squad. And by Zombies 4: Dawn of the Vampires, not only did their dreams come into fruition, but they had the honor of meeting each other for the first time ever in their dreams because of Victor and Nova, and they got to spend the rest of their lives together. That's what made Zombies 4: Dawn of the Vampires so special for me, because it was 7 years in the making. It was history, and we were all going to be a part of it. We got to meet 2 new wonderful characters who are going to carry on the legacy of the Zombies franchise, which is something I'm incredibly excited about. And we had the honor of seeing both Zed and Addison spend the rest of their lives together. Because I think no matter who we are in this lifetime, we meet somebody that we think we have a chance of spending the rest of our lives together with. So because we meet only one person every once in a lifetime that we think we have a chance of spending the rest of our lives together with, I think it's something that sometimes a lot of people take for granted, because there are more people zombieing out in this world than ever given credit for. People never pay attention to what we're texting, what we're talking about, how we feel, our reactions to certain situations in life. There are more people zombieing out day after day than ever given credit for. And so many people we pass by that don't even say hi back in the way of a response after we say hi to them because we just want to be nice. The thing is, if we come off as nice people, at the end of the day, we are people that are leaving people an impression that they can be left inspired by. And I think that Meg Donnelly and Milo Manheim did a fabulous job bringing this franchise to life, and so did your favorite characters from Descendants, because there are a lot of characters in Descendants that I think we felt inspired by because we saw ourselves through the eyes of whatever characters we idolized. I know there are fans who will forever be dedicated to the original trilogy, saying that this trilogy, The Rise of Red, should have never happened, because eventually Descendants, The Rise of Red will be turned into a trilogy, and it will see so much success. I know there are people who feel very differently about The Rise of Red because of its vibe and its music and how it presented a feel for a Harry Potter kind of Wicked-like musical. But I think that's people who didn't really want to choose to give Descendants much of a chance. If you actually sit down and you watch the entire franchise, you don't have to analyze it. It doesn't mean to sit down and analyze the franchise and break it down scene for scene, moment for moment, song for song. Just watch the franchise, pay particular attention to the friendships, how dedicated each other are to the friendships, how the value of friendship has a stronger emphasis than any other Descendants movie of all time, and you will come away from watching this with a greater appreciation than ever before. Because one thing I noticed about these videos that are being uploaded that are reaction videos for Descendants and Zombies are, there aren't enough emphasis placed on, the value of friendship, and just how precious time is. Why, you may ask? Because time always runs out. And it's all about how we spend the time that we're allocated. We can spend the time of our lives, being an asshole to each other, or we can spend the time of our lives being so kind to each other to leave an everlasting impression on each and everybody's heart. Because I really believe, because we only have one life to live, we've really got to make every moment count in that lifetime. And it's all about how we spend the time that we are allocated, because we sometimes don't take into consideration just how valuable time is and how it's always and forever elapsing through the hourglass. Because one thing I can guarantee you, while I don't know what the future has in store, I do know that time never fails to run out. So because time never fails to run out, we've really got to make the most of these opportunities. And the most amazing thing about these Descendants and Zombie stars are, some of them are only 15 years old. Some of them are 19 years old, just getting their lives started. They don't know where they're headed from here on out. The Descendants and Zombies unquestionably will provide them with more opportunities as actors and actresses, because these are some of the most beautiful casts that have ever been brought together. Years ago I thought Victorious was the most beautiful and most powerful cast that Nickelodeon had ever assembled because of its message of positive vibes, of how dreams could happen for anybody, and how the value of friendship had never seen a greater emphasis until Victorious and iCarly's cast showed up from out of nowhere. People will criticize Dan Schreiner for forever, but he did a fabulous job bringing shows like iCarly and Victorious to life. And now Disney has taken a franchise that had a greater appreciation shown for it from fairy tale characters and brought it to life in such an emphatic way that millions of people feel inspired by it. Years ago I had a passion for collecting wrestling action figures, and I had every wrestling action figure that you could collect for a set. I had hundreds of them. Legendary wrestlers had action figures inspired by them for years. So I went out and I collected all of them because it was a passion. I also had a passion for collecting video games, as you see there in the back. I literally have every PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 video game that you can think of. From Resident Evil to Gran Turismo to Grand Theft Auto to Final Fantasy. I have them all. If there were 10 Resident Evil video games in a series, I had all 10 of them. And as each Resident Evil video game becomes released and becomes available, like Resident Evil 9 this forthcoming February in 2026, I will purchase it regardless of what the price is. I don't care how much the game is, because I have the whole set and I need Resident Evil 9 to complete it, but it just goes to show how dedicated a person can become to collecting video games or action figures, like many of you collect the Descendants dolls. The 10th anniversary dolls, or just the original dolls from The Rise of Red and the original Descendants, because you guys love it so much. One of the top trends on YouTube currently right now are Descendants dolls. The 10th anniversary dolls are a hot commodity for fans of Descendants and Zombies. Now I want to let you guys know there's nothing wrong with being a fan of collecting the merch, collecting the dolls, because you feel inspired by these characters. And the reason why you feel inspired by these characters is because they're so beautiful. The reason why Ruby Rose Turner became my favorite Descendants character of all time was because she was undeniably gorgeous, and everybody couldn't stop talking about how gorgeous she was and just how sweet and kind she was because she was so genuine. That's the thing I got from Ruby every single time that I saw her on the set of Descendants, was because she was so genuine and she just wanted to bring this character to life, and she did it with such passion and such dedication. You know, years ago, I never forgot about Dove Cameron's contributions to the Descendants franchise, no matter how many times she tried to leave her Disney past behind her, because of just how she did it with such passion. And I wish more people would have brought that same passion to the set of Descendants and High School Musical and Hannah Montana and Wizards and Phineas and Ferb when they were doing the voiceovers, because that passion really helps bring a franchise to life and puts a stronger emphasis on the dedication of just how much further kindness can go in this lifetime and how valuable friendship and time actually is. I just spoke on how time always runs out and never fails to run out, and if we were in possession of a pocket watch, what would we do with the time that we were allocated if we were offered the opportunity to go back in time and fix some of our mistakes and tell more people in our lifetime that we love them? Because the thing that we don't take into consideration is just how valuable time is. I learned that over 15 years ago. My dad looked at me in a conversation and he said, a lot can happen in 10 years. And little did I know he was speaking truth, because a lot did happen in the forthcoming 10 years. Both of them passed away. Both my grandparents passed away. And I'm sitting here today talking about the memories they left me with, because at the end of our life, what we leave behind in that hourglass after it elapses are all the memories that we create. So the one thing that we will be left with from being Descendants and Zombies fans are the memories that these stars will forever and always leave us with. So should we choose to criticize them for their point of view on life, how they feel about politics, how they feel about this or that, their passions for video games and collecting things like dolls and merchandise? No, we shouldn't, because they're letting us know how they feel. Just because Kylie Control has a different point of view when it comes to politics and Donald Trump doesn't give us the right to criticize her because of how she feels. I think that Kylie Control has been given a voice by God to use, and if she can't feel freely and openly to use that voice to express her opinion on how she feels, then it defeats the purpose of God ever giving her a voice. I think Kylie Control has a beautiful voice, and I think that the more that she stands up and uses that voice within a crowd and lets her voice be heard, the more pressure comes off of her shoulders, because there's a lot of pressure being a celebrity like Kylie Control and having to perform at the level she's constantly required to perform at and expected to perform at. You know, at just 9 years old, when Kylie Control was first introduced to the entertainment industry as a singer and a dancer, she was expected to know everything and expected to perform at the best of her ability. And it was years later before she ever got the opportunity on shows like Raven's Home as Jasmine, of course High School Musical, the series as Tony, and then of course on shows like Bizarre, Vark, and Gabby Duran and the Unsittables. You know, a show lasting just a mere 2 seasons is just when it's scratching the surface of what Kylie Control has yet to become, and I think more of a chance should have been given to her at such a younger age, because I remember these promos for Gabby Duran and the Unsittables, and Kylie Control was just so appreciative and just so happy to be a part of whatever she was a part of. So too was Ruby Rose Turner on Coop and Cammy Asked the World. And now we have Liamani Segura coming over from High School Musical, the series, coming in to portray this character Pink for the first time in the Descendants franchise. The thing about Liamani is we don't know much about Liamani and her future with the Disney company. Obviously, Pink is going to present her with more opportunities than ever before. An introductory song is expected for the soundtrack of Descendants 5, Book of Wonderland, because, of course, there's a lot of conflict and controversy expected, and there's the age-old question of what's going to happen, what are going to be some of the consequences of time travel. Obviously, Pink and Red having a sister is one of them, but also, what can we expect from the consequences of time travel, and was happily ever after all Red and Chloe ever imagined? We are going to find that out, and the cool thing is about this, we are going to be a part of history that we are never, ever going to forget. The thing is about some of our favorite TV shows and movies they are history and we don't even realize it. I mean, whoever thought that Buffy the Vampire Slayer or the Vampire Diaries many years later in 2010 would go on to produce over 7 seasons. And over the course of 7 seasons, these TV series would go on to achieve so much rarity because of the characters and how you could identify with them, and the story between Buffy and Spike, which is something we never ever imagined Buffy the Vampire Slayer would ever amount to. Whoever thought that she would end up with Spike after all the controversy that her relationship with Angel at the time, David Bandianos, really would amount to. It's really amazing how these stories just turn around when we least expect it. And that's why I really appreciated how Freya Sky was such a huge fan of the Vampire Diaries, because if there was one guy who watched every single episode and every season of the Vampire Diaries and came away with it from a greater appreciation, it was this guy. I've often wanted to binge watch the entire Vampire Diaries series because of the relationship between Damon and Elena, or Caroline and Stefan, because I saw that appreciation coming from someone like Freya Sky, who had binge watched the entire series. and I wanted to do that with her. So too did I want to play board games with her, because I also had a passion for collecting board games. You know, every year on Christmas morning, I had about 15 board games under my Christmas tree. If there was one thing I wanted under my Christmas tree every year, it was the latest edition of Monopoly, because there were so many different versions of Monopoly. Star Wars Monopoly, Disney Monopoly. There was a gamer edition of Monopoly a couple of years ago, which I thought was really cool, inspired by Super Mario and Donkey Kong. That was really sweet, actually. There were old school board games like Nightmare, where you had to put in the old VHS tape into your VCR. Many of you are too young to remember what a VCR was, but I remember when the first VCR came out, it was over $1,000. And these board games were released by Disney that came with a VHS tape. Many of them you had to watch the movie and then play the board game after, like Gargoyles years ago. But I remember all these board games being inspired by VHS movies and how the VHS tape would come with it. It was called Nightmare. It was so cool, you know, playing these board games like Nightmare and 13 Dead End Drive. And seeing the 30th anniversary of these board games gave you a greater appreciation for being a fan of it after all these years. And many of you are too young to remember Super Nintendo and, of course, the regular Nintendo system, where Aladdin and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Spider-Man and Bonkers and Goof Troop would have video games released on it, 10 levels of action. But if you were one of the people who were fortunate enough to complete the entire 10 levels of action in a video game like Aladdin, you were considered cool, because the video game was rushed to release ever before the movie was in 1992, 1993, when you think about Aladdin and the Lion King. But I remember the video game being so iconic and so fun to play. And I wish Disney was still in that kind of era, that same kind of mind frame, you know, putting up video games based off Descendants and zombies, because I think that, you know, even an app game for your phone or your tablet where you're trying to survive a zombie apocalypse inspired by the Zombies franchise, with the music thrown in there, and something to, you know, create a lot of creative buzz, like how you have to think about how to create a character and how you can customize characters. I know Dreamlight Valley just had a showcase just the other day on the Dreamlight Valley Facebook fan page, where they streamed some of the upcoming updates for the Dreamlight Valley video game that sold millions of units. But the thing is, I think that customization and appreciation for video games should still be going on and happening for franchises like Descendants and Zombies, because think of the downloads you would get off the App Store. Think about the revenue that you would create. There's so much of an opportunity for merch with Disney that they haven't capitalized on with Descendants and Zombies. For sure they have, but there's still so much of an opportunity. With every new character provides an opportunity to see an expansion, and for us to broaden our horizons in the way of creative minds, because I think that fans are far more creative and far more appreciative of this franchise than ever given credit for. I would have always loved to have been the writer and producer behind Descendants and Zombies, because of all the creative characters that could come into the franchise, all the fairy tales that have yet to draw inspiration from this franchise, like Aladdin and Jasmine from Aladdin in 1992. And maybe just saying this because I'm a big fan of Aladdin, but I think the characters from Aladdin, like Aladdin and Jasmine and Jafar and Iago and Abu, haven't been shown the greater appreciation and or significance and impact they could have and leave on a franchise like Descendants. I, for one, would love to see Red and Chloe have an adventure inside the Cave of Wonders, and then it would give me the chance to be the voice of the Cave of Wonders. Check this out. Who dares disturb my slumber? Who believes they are the diamond in the rough? I would love to be the voiceover of a character in Descendants, man. I would love to be the voice of the opening monologue. You know how they tell a story at the very beginning of Descendants and Zombies with the cartoon opening and stuff? By the way, the cartoon openings are really, really cool, and I would love to have been one of the creative designers and minds behind the cartoon openings every time we see a Zombies movie. I think they should keep going with that for the foreseeable future. But I've often wanted to be the voice in the opening monologues of Descendants. If Kylie Cantrell and Dove Cameron can offer their voices to the opening monologues, I think there's always been something with my voice being associated with the Descendants and Zombies franchise that a lot of people love. Me telling stories about apparent alien invasions in less than 100 days, or a zombie apocalypse having the chance of happening at any given moment. Now, I know that may be coming out of the mouth of a guy who lives near a soda plantation and a chemical plant, because nobody else is crazy enough to live near a soda plantation and a chemical plant and produce a show inspired by Descendants and Zombies for you guys off YouTube. But I think somebody's got to do it to show a greater appreciation for Descendants and Zombies, and if nobody else is going to do it, well, then obviously that distinction will have to be shown to Jonathan Clarke. And I know we're just 2 weeks out from Halloween 2025, and I've been preparing myself because I've gone to the dollar store, picked up the necessary essentials like food, water, medical supplies, and toilet paper, because every year my house is in fear of being egged and TP'd. And I just want to let everybody know that those people heading towards my house dressed up in Halloween costumes thinking I don't know who you are, this year I have every priority of getting you before you get me. So before you head towards my house, just know I'm prepared, and if I get egged or TP'd, I'm coming for you guys. I love Halloween. I love Christmas. I love being here, having the opportunity to create all these wonderful videos for each and every one of you. And I love telling you stories about Descendants of Zombies, about my own life, to help you get to know who the host of the show is, how he feels about Descendants of Zombies and his own life, and the predicaments and situations he gets caught up within every single day. Like just before I recorded this video, I ate a root beer popsicle. And eating a root beer popsicle and then trying to record a Descendants of Zombies video is somewhat challenging because you never know quite what to expect. Your brain is all a mess. And I would highly recommend that if anybody uploads a video about Descendants of Zombies, they should try eating a root beer popsicle and try saying that off the back of your tongue 3 times fast, because it's really cool. I've often uploaded videos about Descendants of Zombies and have developed this consistent habit of going to the American tradition of Dairy Queen and eating the biggest blizzard that you can purchase for $8.99 and coming home wondering how many people have subscribed to this YouTube channel. Now, thankfully, every day somebody subscribes, but I often go to Dairy Queen hoping to come home to 10 million subscribers, and every time it happens, I have never felt more honored to be in your guys' presence to talk about your favorite franchises, because I think never enough love and support can be shown to people like Clarke and Clarke, and the more love and support that we show them, the further they will go and they will make it with their careers, which makes me feel so honored to have been a fan of Descendants of Zombies for the last 10 years. And it's really hard to believe that it's been 10 years since Descendants of Zombies came into our lives and had such a significant impact and really changed our lives for the better, because we are the best of friends now because of Descendants of Zombies. And that's really what's so cool. And that's what makes uploading these videos ever so worth it. Thank you guys so much. So I will be back later on this evening with a third video and one final video later on tonight, which I cordially invite you to join me for. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, you're probably going to want to do that as I try to consume the remainder of this root beer popsicle. Try saying that 3 times fast and how messed up I feel from it. I do remember one time when I uploaded a video where I went to, I believe, the local coffee shop, and I bought one of those chocolate syrups, and I drank those before I recorded the video on Descendants of Zombies, and man, did I ever feel messed up. Really screwed up. But I highly recommend that you consume a root beer popsicle or a strawberry sundae before you record a video about Descendants of Zombies if you're going to attempt doing it, because you will have a whole lot more fun and a greater appreciation for uploading these videos. Of course, we have just under 1 week to go until Halloween 2025, and I will be here all throughout Halloween day and night uploading videos about Descendants of Zombies. Just to let you guys know, there are no breaks. We go right on through the calendar year 365 on this YouTube channel. Again, guys, thank you so much for all the love and support you've shown this YouTube channel. I couldn't or wouldn't be able to do it without each and every one of you. So keep on subscribing, keep on hitting that like button, and keep on ringing that bell to stay up to date with notifications for this YouTube channel. Make sure that your notifications are turned on, because you're not going to want to miss a single second of the action, because I'm a really big fan of all things Disney and Descendants of Zombies related. Guys, seriously, thank you so much. We will talk again in just a few hours from now about everything Descendants of Zombies just after you get home from school, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun doing it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell to stay up to date with notifications, and hit that like button. I would forever love you guys so much. Stay calm and zombie on, everybody, into the foreseeable future, because life really is sweeter when all of us are.